What is up, friends? Welcome back to my Intro to Java web series. So today what we're going to be going over is classes and creating objects. So really what we're going to cover is creating a constructor. That's a method that constructs an object in Java. And then we're going to do the toString method, which will print out all the data that we have within our object. So as you can see here, I have a public class vehicle, and I chose vehicle because it's pretty vague. A vehicle can be multiple things. So after these couple videos, I'm going to go over inheritance and how that works. But just to start off, we're gonna start with constructors and the toString method. So this is the part of when I was taking classes that I really started to understand what object-oriented programming was, because we create these objects by programming their attributes. So for example, a vehicle, we can create a vehicle object based off the attributes that make a vehicle, like the number of wheels, the VIN numbers, the type of car, stuff like that. So that's what we're going to do today. So to start off our program, we always start off by creating our attributes. So here I'm going to say declare attributes slash variables. And for a vehicle, if we want to create a vehicle object, we have to use attributes that make up a vehicle. What makes a vehicle? So for example, you can do something like int number of wheels. And we're not going to set it to anything yet because we're going to do that later within our main method. You can notice that I am not working within the main method. I'm working in this public class vehicle. We won't be working in the main method yet. Within the main method, we will create an object, and then we'll do some other things like that. So we got int number of wheels. Let's do string VIN number, because all vehicles have registration numbers, stuff like that. And I think that will be good so far. You can create as many attributes as you want. Some objects require more attributes than other, and of course I can create more attributes within this class, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. So now we have declared our attributes. Now what we're going to do is create our constructor. So what our constructor is, I think of it as the method that creates objects. And you'll see how that works within the main method later on in this video. But the constructor will create the object within the main method. So for the constructor, what we have to do is we have to name it the same thing as the class. So it will be called vehicle, but we won't call it a class. We'll just call it public vehicle. And then within the parameters, we're going to include our attributes. Now, where these are does matter. So for example, if I started off with int number wheels, do a comma, and then string VIN number, we will have to put our attributes or our parameters just like this. So the first parameter should be an integer, and the second should be a string. So we can't swap those up. And we'll see how that works later on when we start working in that main method. So this is the constructor. It's a very simple method that you have to write. Just remember that you have to use the this keyword. The this keyword is referring to a different number of wheels than what we're going to set it equal to. So what we're going to do is say this dot number wheels is equal to number wheels. So really what it's saying is that this number wheels that's found in the constructor is going to be set to this number wheels right here. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing for VIN number. We're going to do this dot VIN number is equal to VIN number. Very simple. Like I said, we have a constructor. It's completely done now. Very easy method that you can write. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save and compile just to show you that everything is working correctly. And it's called, let's do Java C vehicle.java. And you see it compiled, so everything's good there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create our toString method. Now our toString method is static, so it works within a class. So for example, when we get into inheritance, we're going to have subclasses for vehicle, such as sedan, motorcycle, stuff like that. And what we're going to do is have a toString method for it here. And it's very easy to create a toString method. We're going to make it public, and it's going to be a string because it's returning a string value. And we're going to call it toString with parentheses. There's no parameters in this one because you're just going to be calling this method from the object that we create within the main method. So in the toString, all we have to do is do a return statement, and within there we're going to create a string. The way I'm going to organize this, I'm going to put number of wheels, space, and then I'm going to add the this dot number of wheels, so it'll tell us how many wheels it has. And then we'll do a dash in, so it goes to that next line, and we'll put vehicle VIN number. There, and then we'll add the, or actually let's not do the this because that gets a little confusing. We can just do number of wheels, and then we'll do plus VIN number. And then we put a semicolon, and that's our toString. Very simple method. These two things are very simple. In our next video, we'll be going over accessors and mutators, which is our getters and setters, where we can access this information and we can set it to something else. And that will be in our next video, and I'll show you how to do that. And we'll still be working within the public class vehicle in the next video. But for the sake of time, I'm trying to keep these videos under 15 minutes. We're just going to do the toString in the constructor for now. So now that we have the constructor, we can actually create an object within our main method. So how you do that is that you have to call the type, just like you're doing like int number wheels, you're doing the type of object, so that would be vehicle. And then we're going to name the vehicle, so we'll do new vehicle. And we'll set that equal to new, because we're creating a new object. And we'll do new vehicle. And now, as you can see here, we have the constructor method that we're creating here. It's the same as this. So within the parameters, we have to have an integer first and then a string next. And if I have time, I'll show you what happens if you mix them up. It'll just create an error. So to start off, we'll do an int number of wheels. We'll say it's a car, so we'll do 4 wheels. And then the VIN number, it's a string, so we have to put it within this. VIN numbers are often just a series of letters and numbers, so I'm going to put that there. So now we've created a vehicle object, and within that vehicle object we know that the number of wheels is 4, and the VIN number is HSIVEKD118. So what I'm going to do now is call that toString method to see if that toString method is working correctly, and if it's working correctly, it should print out number of wheels 4, and then it'll skip to the next line and say vehicle number, or VIN number, and then it'll give us this value. So to call that method, we're going to get our object, which is new vehicle, and then we're going to do a dot. You've done this in many others. You see that the this does the same thing. We're just calling the toString method from this object. So we're going to do new vehicle toString. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to do a system.out_print. So system.out.print, and we'll include that within our parameters. So it should print out the toString of our vehicle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save. I'm going to compile and run it. Compile vehicle. No errors, which is good. And vehicle, press enter. And you see here that our toString was called, where we have the number of wheels is equal to 4, and the vehicle VIN number is this right here. So everything's working correctly. We've got our constructor, we got our toString. In our next video, I'm going to be going over how to create accessors and mutators and how those work within the main method. Because at this point of programming, you're no longer using just variables to do a certain thing. Now we're creating objects, and oftentimes those objects will be a part of an array or an array list, where there'll be multiple objects, and we'll have to access the information from those objects, and we'll also have to mutate or set it as something else. So that's what we'll go over in the next video. Like I said, we got our attributes, we got our constructor, and don't forget to comment these things. We'll do toString method. So you comment everything. So here we created our vehicle object, and then here we called our toString method. So that's about it for classes. In the future, we'll get into inheritance, where we'll have multiple classes that are based off of vehicle. So for these next couple videos, we'll be working with this program. So be sure that you write all this down, you type it out with me, and then in the future we can create methods and we can do other things with this program. But other than that, that's the end of this video. Y'all have a great day and happy coding.